I'm David.R.Johnson. I'm a psychologist and a drama therapist.
So this evening, we're going to be focusing on more ideas about DvT in general, and then moving toward working with patients with trauma. DvT presents a situation on purpose to challenge our clients. Obviously, the therapist cares about the client and is doing everything possible to help them. But we want to help them manage the anxieties and the uncertainties and the risks of living a life. So we're not about giving them safety, because nobody out there is giving anybody safety. Living involves taking risks, and it's challenging. So we need you to practice handling those risks and not withdrawing, not oppressing other people, not drinking, not doing things because you feel you cannot manage the life. We want to strengthen the client. How do you strengthen the body?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
You put stress. So if we're going to strengthen your ability to have an intimate relationship, we need to stress you. So around relationships, around uncertainty and change, and around this problem of having both a body and a mind, DvT challenges our clients in a play space, in an atmosphere of fun. And this is not unlike other forms of teaching. How many of you have ever played tennis? In tennis, you hire a coach, and the coach is over there, and he hits the ball nice and soft, and it comes right here, and you hit it back. And when you learn how to hit it back, he then hits it a little further. So I have to reach further to do it. Then he hits it a little faster. Then he hits it to your backhand, and then to your forehand, and then faster and faster, and pretty soon you learn how to play tennis. And this is how you learn. So just like the tennis teacher, the DvT therapist increases the stress gradually. First, we simply mirror. So in mirroring, let's say the client was going, oh. To mirror that, you go, oh. The next step is that I play the other role, and this is called faithful rendering. So if the client goes, oh, what's the other role? So it's probably some kind of scary animal or somebody going boo. As the therapist, then I would be here going boo. How much you challenge the client changes. And you're going to start with mirroring, and then you're going to get more complicated. It's going to be more challenging. So, in the beginning of an individual session, not too threatening. Hi. A little more challenging would be to come in and go, hi. A little more challenging would be coming in.
그 다음 단계에서는
Right? Creepy, right?
약간 무섭죠?
More challenging would be
좀 더 도전을 가하게 되면 이런 행동을 하게 됩니다.
okay. You can choose the amount of challenge. And you don't do that from your own head. You would do that from the behavior of the client and what you know about the client. Uncertainty. So in the beginning of the work, kind of give instructions and you're very present and everything is pretty clear. But as you work, you purposefully make it less clear. So in general, you begin very clear and you get less clear. And you watch as the client gets more comfortable taking control, gaining power, and confidence that they can manage this kind of a situation. You're not trying to scare the client. We're playing with our child, and we have a mask, and we put the mask on the face. And sometimes the child goes,
때때로 아이들은 두려워하죠.
so what do? You put the mask on, the child goes,
가면을 썼을 때 아이가 울 때
take
어떻게
the mask
할까요?
off,
가면을 벗습니다.
and then what do? The mask on halfway. You see mommy, and you
엄마도
see the
보이고
mask.
가면도 보이게 되죠.
This image of the mask half over the face is on the cover of every drama therapy book. This is theater, because when you go to the theater, you know it's not real, but it's so good, for a moment, you feel as if it's real. And that's what we're doing too. So if somebody cries in DvT, because to them it feels real, that's theater. 2 or 3 very important things that help make this process very safe and meaningful. I'm going to stress you. I'm going to challenge you. But I am going to be with you. The therapist is in the play also. The therapist is not safe on the side. The therapist is taking a risk also. And that makes the client feel, even though they're facing a scary moment for them, that you're with somebody and you're being held by somebody. In DvT, we push people out of an airplane, but we are attached to them. We are with them. This is true in the ancient treatment for trauma. We tell children traumatizing stories about children being eaten and killed and horrible things happening and witches and all sorts of terrible things happen, and they just sit there and they go, oh, and they fall asleep in your arms and you put them down. And why does that work? Because they're cuddled in your arms. So together, my child and I look at a trauma, and it's okay because we are together. This is extremely important. You and your clients, in group or individual, can go very far into the forest. You can go very far into the deep, dark cave as long as you are together. The DvT therapist lives in the play space. In Alice in Wonderland, follows the rabbit down the hole. She doesn't go by herself. She follows the rabbit. We call DvT therapists the rabbit. So there's the connection to the therapist, and this is particularly important in work with trauma, who was sexually assaulted by his uncle, and they found out, they put the man in jail, and they brought him to treatment. And after 6 months of treatment, Renee and the client were able to reenact the trauma. Unbelievable. That's going into the cave. Theoretically, this relates to what we call the play space. 2 people have a conflict, a real conflict. It repeats over and over and over again. It never goes anywhere because you think you're right and they think they're right. But when I ask the 2 people to play the conflict, they have to work together to make the scene work. 2 actors on stage whose characters are arguing or fighting are working together to make the scene work. And we can go around the conflict. We call this dimensionalization. Why is it dimensionalization? Do you see this line? It doesn't go very far, but if I live on a line and somebody blocks my way, I'm blocked because I can only be on the line. So I only have one option, 2 options. I can withdraw and give up, or I can push it out of my way. But if my world dimensionalizes and I live on a plane, then I can go around it. And if I add a 3rd dimension, I can go over it. Play space dimensionalizes our experience and provides us a way to get around conflict, to race each other, and one of you wins. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go! Okay. That's a real race. You're trying to win. This time, I want you to pretend to want to go there. I want you to play the race in slow motion. By the time you get here, you have to decide together who's going to win. And remember, it could be more fun. And you're going to be working together to create a scene of a race. 1, 2, 3, go. Point being, they have to work together. And it's more fun than fighting. The conflict can be physical, but it can be a verbal fight. The key is for both players to be working together mutually to produce the scene. And that builds the muscle for the scene to be more serious and ultimately close to real traumatic events. In your culture, in my culture, in all cultures, I think, everyone wants to be top dog. You want to be the winner, not a loser. You want to be stronger, not weaker. But many of us are weak. In DvT, as part of strengthening the power of the play space, the therapist should be able to play the losing role so well. There's a lot of power in playing the losing role. And this is the principle, which is when your client sees you in the losing role, in the one-down role, having fun, getting into it, they say, that looks more fun than being the winner. And the same is true for verbal arguments, embarrassment, humiliation. It's good for the therapist to know how you can play being humiliated, being insulted, being told that you're worthless, and to play it big. So another very important part of DvT, just DvT in general, is that the therapist works only in the present moment. Now, I don't mean that 100%, because the therapist, of course, is keeping in mind everything they know about the client. But to be honest, you have to be trained to put that to the side when you're in the play with your client. You don't have room to do anything but keep your attention on the client's behaviors and allowing the process to play out in the moment. It takes a long time to learn this.
이렇게 현재에 충실하게
It doesn't take a long time to learn how to play, but to do this, it takes a long time. And what do we mean by the present moment? The present moment is 3 to 5 seconds long. And in those 3 to 5 seconds, there's a process that occurs. You first notice
처음에
something
알아차리게 됩니다.
in your client. Like, I just noticed this woman is fiddling with her shirt, and she was using her thumb in an interesting way. So you notice a behavior. As soon as you notice the behavior, automatically it creates a feeling inside you. It makes you feel uncomfortable. So it creates a feeling, a very small feeling, but a feeling. Noticing is outward, feeling is inward. Animating is the next stage where, based on what you saw and then what you felt, the energy moves into your body as you prepare a response. So somebody says hello to me, I see that, I hear it. It makes me feel like, oh God, I don't want to meet this person. And then it goes into my body, and then my body starts to go like this as I say, well, hi, how are you? And it comes out in expression, some kind of an expression. And this sometimes it takes only 1 or 2 seconds. Then your expression is noticed by the other person, which evokes a feeling. They animate and they express something back to you, which you notice. This is a cycle that takes place in every encounter and conversation with another person. Some people are not good at noticing. Some people are good at noticing, but they're not good at feeling. Some people don't know how to animate, and some people have problem expressing. You can even analyze your clients according to where they have a problem. The therapist should not have a problem. And under expression, there's many, many options you have to choose from when you're deciding with therapy clients how to respond back. So this is very complex because there are many options. You can do many things. Now, the therapist doesn't only notice the client's expression. You learn how to notice their animation also, because the animation is coming up into the body, and you can see that the person's shaping their thought to be able to put it into words or to take an action. And you can read it coming, you can see it coming. And many clients feel like you're reading their mind because you can see it happening just before they say it. But you're not reading their minds, you're just noticing them. Now I want to move a little bit more directly to trauma. Now the treatment for trauma is not that different from DvT in general, but some people have gone through very terrible experiences, and you do have to be sensitive to those, and sometimes that can prevent them from playing. And many, many people who are traumatized can act completely normal much of the time. Because the main thing we do with trauma is to avoid remembering it, and definitely avoid talking about it. But it causes long-term problems because it's like a constant stress to hold it down. So it's very good for people who've been traumatized to have treatment if they want to. This may come out when you first meet with them, and you might ask, have you gone through any traumatic event? Have you gone through anything terrible in your life that you would like to tell me? And you should ask that question, and they can say no. But you shouldn't wait for them to tell you. You have to ask. And so they tell you, and then you get some details. You say, so tell me what happened. And then you would need to, what we call, establish the trauma-centered frame. And that means it's like a contract. It's like an agreement. And the agreement is, you and I have agreed to work on your feelings about the traumatic event that took place. And because trauma is hard to talk about and to work on, you're going to want to avoid working on it. And that's okay, but I won't. And I want to let you know that if I think that you're avoiding talking and working about the trauma, I will point that out. Is that okay with you? So you make an agreement that you are not going to delay, put off, go around the trauma once you know it. Because inside that person is a person living still today in the traumatic event. So you begin trauma treatment in DvT, and you begin the treatment with some kind of a challenge or a demand, just like normal. You're coming for them. The difference is that the traumatized patient has got a very strong protective shield very strong. Everyone's got a different kind, but it's basically stay away from me. Do not step closer. They want you to come and rescue them. So you've got to get through the barrier. So we're going to work on that. This is all under the concept of desensitization, and which means that we want them not to be able to be so frightened of talking about the trauma, because if they're too frightened to talk about the trauma, you can't go any further. So we've got to get through this problem first. Let's say you're scared of spiders. They show you a picture of spider, and they have you sit there and look closely at the picture. Then your therapist brings in a glass jar, a big glass jar with a dead spider in it. And you go, oh, but it's in a glass jar, and it's dead. And then you calm down. Then they bring in a glass jar with an alive spider. And you take that home and you put it, after a while, it's kind of cute, actually. And then you come to the therapist's office and he opens the jar and you put your hand in and hold the spider. And then you're not afraid of spiders anymore. So DvT with trauma is like this. First, the therapist poses a challenge to the client. Let's say there's a teenager who's being bullied at school. And you come into the room, hey! And the kid is like, that's a challenge. You do the challenge just enough to evoke the protective shield. Once you evoke the protective shield, you challenge it. Boom, boom. Let me in! With a force field, I'm going to come through, you go. But you're trying to get in. And you go in and out, in and out, in and out. There's a conflict. And then you always lose. This is where losing comes in. So you never break through. You always try to get in and then lose. So with kids, where we do this a lot with the kids, let's say you've got guns, or you got swords and you're fighting, this kind of a thing. Your weapons never work. You go like that and you make sure that their swords work. Every time they stab you, shoot you, push you, you go, ah! And DvT therapists know how to die. And this desensitizes the client to losing. We're cooperating together. It's what we did before. We're cooperating together to have me lose. And they feel closer to me. The more I lose, the more they like me. Get up again.
빨리 일어나 이렇게 계속 이야기합니다.
And you do that enough, and the bond comes stronger, the play space is stronger, to this critical point that the play space is stronger than the avoidance. And at that point, the kid says, my turn. Or the adult says, the adult shifts roles, so we call it the rounding. Suddenly your weapons work. Bang, and they die. The client dies. And they're doing what you did. Now, what's the importance of this? The client is now in the correct role that occurred during the traumatic event. Or they're in the victim position where they're dying and they're doing the various kinds of things, which is what happened in the trauma. So their identification with the aggressor, with the perpetrator, has been shaken. And then you do that for a while, and they die, and they whatever, they succumb, they do whatever. And after a certain amount of time, sometimes pretty quickly, that kind of expels all the energy that's been held. It just goes out with the kid. So I'm stabbing the kid goes down, like that, and he's struggling, and then all of a sudden he goes like this. And we call that the release. And it's just like they are no longer afraid of the spider. And then in that moment, you come over to them and become a caretaker. And you say, oh my God, what happened to you? Oh, that's so terrible.
너무 안타깝구나.
This kind of a thing. You can actually mention the trauma sometimes. And then you just look at them, and they look at you, and nothing bad happens. Close to somebody, to be open, no protection, and nothing bad happens. It's a beautiful thing. And that pretty much finishes the desensitization process. And then the trauma treatment continues because you have to work on all the impact that the trauma had on the person. But now you're able to discuss it, play it, and explore it. You're no longer, the patient's no longer avoiding it.